Hello everybody, this is the Vikstrand and today we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Mexico. But before we do that, we're gonna have to talk about CIA agent Sands, played by Johnny Depp. It is the greatest character that Johnny Depp has ever created. Better than Jack Sparrow, better than Sweeney Todd, better than Edward Scissorhands, better than everybody, basically. He is a complete lunatic with a very sketchy set of moralic principles. He calls it a creative sportsmanship. One of the greatest calls in the history of movies, I think. It's absolutely fantastic. He's such a great character, he will actually end up damaging this movie a little bit. We'll get to why in a second. However, Agent Sam's greatest character trait is the fact that he constantly shows up with bad makeup and in bad disguises, and you're thinking to yourself, why is he doing this? Why is he putting on weird, beards and stuff like that, for meetings? And why he does that? He does that even more in some deleted sequences, and there is also explained why he puts on, bad disguises. The reason why he does this is so that people will know that he's in disguise, so he can shoot them. So he can justify it later. Well, my cover was blown, so I had to shoot this guy because he, caught me being a CIA agent. And I think that is one of the greatest, little character tweets I've ever heard of. It's fantastic. However, what is not fantastic and what will not be accepted is the fact that according to the parental guide on IMDb, which by the way is completely correct in this one, is that sex and nudity section is none, featuring Salma Hayek, Eva Mendes, Johnny Depp and Antonio Banderas. Shame on you, movie, shame on you. No 100 points for you. Well, it's going to end up in the upper echelons of things anyway, because we're going to talk today about one of my favorite movies of 2003. A pretty great year for movies, by the way. This is Once Upon a Time in Mexico. El Mariachi, aka Antonio Banderas, is brought back once again into the world of gunfighting, guitar playing and ass kicking. And he's being recruited by Agent Sands because there is a rogue general called General Marquez who's going to try to kill the president of Mexico and, state a coup d'etat during the president's visit to this little small town. And this coup is being bought and paid for by the local cartel, the Barilla cartel. And the idea from Sam's standpoint is that the president is too good and the general is too evil. So the balance has to, be even again. So the coup has to, take place so that the president can die. And but there will not be, any sort of overtaking by Marquez, because Mariachi is going to kill him. But this is just one of many jars of jam that Agent Sands has his grub little fingers in, because he also has Ruben Blades, a retired FBI agent who he uses to get on the inside of the Barilla cartel with the help of Mickey Rourke, an escaped convict from the United States who's living there. And Blades has a history together with the Barilla cartel. We also have some other wild cards in this little mix, mostly in the form of Danny Trejo as Jujuy. Exactly what his part is, we'll see, but probably he will end up dead, because that's usually what happens to about 90% of all the Danny Trejo performances that has ever been made ever. And also ATF agent Eva Mendes, whose role in this one is going to be pretty big, I will assume. So let the bullfighting, motorcycle chasing, gunfighting and the guitar playing take place, and also almost 3-digit body count, because this is of course Once Upon a Time in Mexico. This movie is just so much fun. This movie is so grand and so spectacular, despite having a sort of modest budget, and it is just so much fun. It's a movie almost designed for me. I mean, I love the high-octane action and I love the characters. Just so many colorful characters. You don't know exactly know where this one is going. There is just so much creativity and there is just such a joy in this movie. And everybody seems to be enjoying themselves so much. And there's just such vibrant movie, just brimming with life, and it feels just such a, well, let's just put on a good movie, guys. The movie has humor, but not too much so the movie, goes into straight silliness, and the movie doesn't, have too much darkness to it either, so it's a pretty good balance. This is just a very, very, very good action movie. A movie, targeted to me, basically. There's just so many memorable sequences in this movie. The bullfighting sequence, the motorcycle chase, the sequence where Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas is hanging from a building chained to each other and has to escape villains, and tons of stuff like that. And the beginning is just straight up mwah! Even though it is not quite as awesome as the Desperado intro, which is, in my opinion, one of the single greatest openings in movie history. It is almost unmatchable, and this movie can't quite match it. Now, what is the problem with this movie? Why don't I think this one is a solid 96, 97 movie? There are a couple of small little details to bring this movie down just a little bit. Now, one thing that is for sure is that Sands is responsible for this, because Johnny Depp's immoral lunatic of a CIA agent who goes, to shoot cooks because they make too good pollo pubil or whatever the dish was called. It looked very nice, by the way. He's overstaging everybody, especially El Mariachi himself, because Antonio Banderas, it feels, at times that this was not entirely what he wanted to do when he woke up this morning. Or maybe this just because Johnny Depp seems to enjoy himself a little bit too much as Agent Sands. I think the roles should be reversed. Antonio Banderas, a big supporting actor, Johnny Depp, main star of the movie. But that's just me, maybe. But we also have another problem with this movie, and that is the coup itself and the finale of this movie, which cannot quite reach the cathartic climax I think this movie, was aiming for. Now, this wasn't on Roberto Rodriguez himself, because he had been promised all of these equipment from the Mexican army, but the Mexican army withdrew its support when they found out that the general was evil, and it was going to basically depict the Mexican army in a negative light. So Rodriguez did what he could, but the military coup ended up looking a little ramshackle, if you ask me. And then we have the villains. Now, a movie with so many colorful characters and so many fun little side plots and stuff like that, you should have a lot of very, very memorable villains, but you don't really have that. Now, General Marquez, he's just evil and doesn't really have a character to him. Barilla, the head of the Barilla cartel, played by Willem Dafoe for some reason, should have been, this, big, boisterous, flamboyant, crazy Willem Dafoe, eyes bugging out and all that stuff. But he's a bit mellow, and it doesn't really work for it. And he doesn't have that much screen time that he has, time to develop a real character that we could sink our teeth into. So that didn't really work either. And also because what's happening in this movie is a bit sidelined, actually, from the rest of the plot for, a considerable time of the movie. And of course we have a surprise villain, but this surprise villain can't really turn this ship around. You could make a pretty solid argument that it is Agent Sands who is the true villain of this piece, but in my opinion, he's not that. He's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, he's not an anti-hero. He's almost like some kind of a new breed, an anti-villain. And damn it, he was such a good character in this one. Damn you, Johnny Depp, for being so good in this movie. Should you see this movie? Yes, you should. It absolutely outclasses Desperado. And I think this is just such a fun, vibrant and colorful and carefree action movie that you so rarely see these days. And even back in 2003 it didn't come out that often. And one thing this movie does that no other movies I think has ever attempted to do is trying to make two movies into a trilogy. Because In between Desperado and this movie, there is a movie that was made about 2000. That is sort of the second movie, but it doesn't exist. But they do flashbacks to it and reference it enough so you can almost make out what the concept of that movie was. I thought that was a pretty clever idea of stretching the story out into an even more and bigger of a story. Even though some people will probably argue that it makes the movie look a little weird, that we're referencing a movie that doesn't exist, so you're going online frequently trying to find out what the hell was this movie, which has the Salma Hayek part in it, and their history together with General Marquez. But I don't know. I liked it. This is a Robert Rodriguez movie full and through. He has made the music, he has written this one, he has produced it, he has edited it, and he has of course directed it. But he doesn't show up in a cameo into it. Why didn't you do that, Rodriguez, by the way? This movie in some cases feels almost like a Sergio Leone movie, and the fantastic cast, the great action sequences, and all the creativity and all the small little tweaks and details here and there makes this into one of the most enjoyable action movies I have seen in the early 2000s. This movie bags an easy 92 points. It could have gone even higher with better villains and a little bit better of a finale to the whole thing. But it's still a big, spectacular finale, and I really recommend it. I think this movie is a ton of fun. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.